I used to be the worst possible person to ever be in a relationship ever. Um, I had no clue how to do anything. I didn't know how to treat a girl. I didn't know anything about anything. Um, so I wanted to make a video about what you can do if you've never if you're trying to get into dating somebody and you've never done it and you don't know what to do, like how you should act and how you should think and how you should treat some stuff and um this video is gonna have a ton of information, a lot of story time stuff, like a lot of information that it's kind of hard to like take in all of it. So I might summarize it in the description, probably not because I'm lazy. If not, you can just listen and take notes if you're curious and actually want to know what I've learned from personal experience. Because all this stuff is pretty um, subjective. Like it depends on who you're with and what your intentions are, and there's a lot of stuff, a lot of variables. But in general, I'm just gonna go over what I learned after being in a relationship for almost 3 years, about 2 years, and I don't know how many months, like more than 5, more than 6. And so yeah, this is basically everything I learned, in the hope that maybe someone clicks on this and um, can learn this stuff before they actually get into that situation in the first place. Um, the first thing I had down here is treating a woman actually properly. So I'm gonna talk about this throughout the entire video, but I think the one of the biggest problems that any guy makes that's in any relationship, especially high school relationships, because they're not fully matured yet, neither of them are, is just effort. Um, I know so many of my friends that are in relationships right now that just don't put in jack shit for effort. They don't do anything. Like, for example, when you ask a girl to homecoming or dance, you think that because you're dating, it doesn't matter. You don't need to ask them because you're dating. You're just already going, right? But those are the times where it actually matters to show effort because that shows that you actually care about them. You know what I mean? Like if you're just pulling out with a sign and flowers, it's just not enough. I'm sorry. And if that's a lot compared to what you usually do, then maybe it is enough. But the point is, generally, you should do a lot. You should do as much as you can all the time, right? Um, After a certain amount of time, like for example, when you're in that honeymoon phase and it's like the first 3 months to a year, um, I guess you can call it honeymoon phase. Basically you do everything and if you don't, you're probably just not that great of a person. But besides the point, for example, buying a bunch of stuff for your sign. Like I'm still on the example of asking someone at homecoming or whatever. Buying them a bunch of stuff, doing a cool setup in a cool location, like I did, and then over enough time, probably a year and a half to 2 years, I just didn't even want to bother with asking because I was like, okay, we're dating. This is stupid. I'm growing up. I don't want to do all this high school shit anymore. Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not about the fact that it's high school thing. It's about just actually showing effort that you care. Because there's only a certain amount of times where you can actually show that. I mean, when you're talking to her, obviously, but in general, this is gonna be a long fucking video. It's already been 3 minutes. I'm only on the first thing. Let me move on. So I found also that. Hold up. Let me look up something to make sure I'm not misspeaking here. Yeah. So. Um. Yeah. Okay. So I spent my first probably year and a half before I did any kind of self reflection or anything about anything, just being pretty much damn straight narcissistic. The tendencies in men, especially in high school, that have just narcissistic written all over them is so common and terrible. You'll find that so many guys just for whatever reason they have this huge sense of entitlement. They think they deserve something special when they actually don't, and they need this sort of admiration, and they just disregard anybody else's feelings. You know what I mean? And that was me. 100% that was me. I totally accept that because I understand now that I'm not that way. You can only learn from it because you've seen both sides of it, right? Like, um, and honestly, that was a huge mistake, because a lot of it, and I'll get to this more, but a lot of it is just listening. And listening, if you don't care about their feelings, like genuinely, you don't like, you just have a total disregard. Like whatever they're feeling just floats out of your head because all that matters is what you're feeling. If that's the case, if you don't do some shit, you're fucked. And also handling criticism. Like when you get criticism for something, a lot of people just disregard it completely and just say that no, it's not the case. It's not the case. When in reality, it's something that you need to listen to. So second thing, don't be narcissistic. And like even just like reflect on like your hangouts or your talking or like just how you act. If you reflect on that and like be pretty introspective, you can actually see that how you're acting and understand that you're maybe not being great. Even if you think you are, because I'm assuming you think you do if you're narcissistic. Like that's just how it is. It's kind of hard to deal with. This goes both ways. Also, it's not only men, but majority is. So another thing about that is genuinely only wanting your way and not caring about her way. And what I mean by that is like I spent a lot of time like only focusing and caring about what I wanted and not anything about what she wanted. And this video might make me look like a terrible person, but like it's important to realize these things early on. I realized them eventually, but like honestly, it's so important to like focus mainly. Like I know for me in the next relationship, I'm gonna mainly focus on what they want. Maybe I can balance it out because I know generally like I have a tendency to care a lot more about what I like me getting my way. Not saying that anything's a competition. I mean just saying like if I want to go to McDonald's and she wants to go to Arby's, I care way too much about getting my way and going to McDonald's when in reality I should be listening and going with the other thing. You know what I mean? So that's just another thing that's part of the narcissism thing. Yeah. This next thing I have is really, really crucial, and it's that space is a good thing. Let me start with some background here. I don't know whether this comes from my family or probably my brother's relationship with me, but I found that I always needed a sense of validation. I talked about this in one of my other videos, I know. Not sure which one of the earlier ones. And I found that like I always needed validation, and then as soon as I got into a relationship, my need for validation from friends and family just disappeared. But I didn't realize that need for validation just changed form into me just telling her everything I do in my life and needing the validation from her directly, right? And so what I'm trying to say here is that saying every little detail about your life and every little thing because you need validation or just because of another reason is not a good thing. Because most of the time, well, first of all, you're living separate lives. And you shouldn't say this, but I did, and I shouldn't have done it, but like, you're living separate lives, right? But you're together. And so you can't, sure, you're like living together in a way, like with each other, but it's supposed to be like harmonic. It's not supposed to be like you're living the same life, right? And so when you tell them every single little thing about your life, it's really important that you know that she is maybe she wants to hear that because she does it too, but if she doesn't, then she's gonna feel this discrepancy, and that she doesn't do enough and that you're doing a lot, even though you're really not doing anything. Like you're gonna like, this is what happened to me exactly. Like I spent so long like communicating my day, like every little thing, every little conversation, every little joke, every little funny meeting with some random person, like work stuff, like, and over enough time, I found that I felt like I was just draining myself completely because I was putting in so much effort into the relationship when I wasn't putting any at all in her eyes, because that wasn't effort. Effort would be like planning something or getting a flower, or like just actually like putting effort, like actual thoughts into something instead of just like mindlessly yapping about my day. So space is a good thing. And don't take it the wrong way if someone if she just leaves you on open. Like all those little things about like Snapchat, like why'd you leave me on open, bro? Like it's all so stupid. Like sure, like maybe you just don't have anything to say. That's normal. It's okay. Like when you live with, this is why long distance could be hard. It's because when you text somebody, especially on Snapchat, you're always expected to send another snap. Like if someone leaves you on open, you're expected to send another snap, and if you don't, they feel weird and lackluster because you didn't send them that snap. Like they got left unopened. But when you're in real life and you're like living together, there's gonna be so many moments in your days that are just completely silent, and that's okay. Like that's just how it is. Like think about your parents. You think that they're always talking about something all the time? Snapchat paints a very bad image about how that is because that's just not how this works, you know. And so space is a very good thing. So one thing I did find is that girls love when guys choose the plans and make spontaneous plans as well. Like I know if you are deciding on where to eat or something, most women just like appreciate when you just know where to go and you're like, let's go here, let's do this, and because then they don't have to think about it, you know. Because not only are you gonna be that person to care for them, you're gonna be the person to like can like think for them so they can have a spot like time to relax, you know. Because a lot of these girls' lives are just super complicated. You know, there's a lot going on, all the social dynamics, all the everything else with everything. It's complicated, and at a lot of time they just want somebody that they can just like literally turn their brain off and just relax. So yeah, I probably won't talk about that. Never purposefully leave on. Okay, this is controversial. So I would reword this as never go to bed on a bad note, and that communication is literally the only thing that matters. If you find yourself purposefully leaving somebody undelivered and not answering their text because you're upset about them or something, is incredibly immature. You should always just like communicate with them. You know what I mean? I mean that, especially over enough time. If you sleep on something like that, sure, you might be in a clearer headspace in the morning to think about things more, you know, critically, but which is good. But at the same time, if you can communicate it out and you can actually like work through it together, you'll be so much more happy. So communication is so important. Oh, this next one is literally a needle mover. Listen to her fucking problems and don't be a solution solver. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this one right here. Men think very systematically and very solution driven and very problem, how do I solve it? Critically, you know, like that's how we think. Women are not that way. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how they think because I don't know, but I know it's not that. And so whenever you get a situation where they are complaining about something or have a problem, and I was guilty of this too, you can't sit there and like tell them what you think you would do. You know, like let's say they have a problem, they're like, me and this one girlfriend are not getting along and she's treating me like shit, or like she didn't invite me to this party. In your head, the male mind, you're going to be like, oh, it's simple. It's a simple solution. Talk to her about it and then ask to be invited to the party, or just something like that. Like it's critical, right? It's like there's a problem, there's a solution. With them, if you tell them that, you're fucked. And this is something that's like really, 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 really interesting. It took me so long to understand this. Like you like when they have those problems, you just have to listen. And if they want what you would do in your solution, don't make it so simple. Make it sound so simple. Like if I said, well, it's simple. All you gotta do is just ask for an invite. If you say it in that way, she'll think that you think her problem is insignificant. And so it's really important that you just listen to what she has to say. For real, that is big. Always respect your body and never deviate from that, because if you say one thing, that can just like grow inside of her head. You know, like in sales, a lot of people talk about doubt. And after a sales call, when you let someone think about it, this is why this is a hard objection to handle. Over enough time, that little doubt seed in their mind is just going to grow and grow and grow. And it's the same way with some of these things. You know, when you say something that you maybe regret, and you don't mention anything about it ever, then that little she'll remember that little thing, and it'll just grow inside of her head and get bigger and bigger until eventually she just can't think about anything but that. That's what I've seen. So just be mindful, especially with the body, like what you're saying. Yeah. I don't understand why so many guys struggle with loyalty. I get it can come from something that's like family driven or something that has come from like your past. But like if you genuinely like care enough about somebody and you get everything you need from that person, from like the female species, you don't need anything else from any other female. Like it's just the case. Like it's just how it works. You know? Like I found myself not like I never even felt like I needed to even Snapchat or Instagram DM or like talk to in person, or I just never needed to unless I actually needed to. Like let's say I needed to know when a project was due and she's in my project group. Like that's something that you need, right? But I mean, I'm talking about like the fundamental things. Like a lot of people deal with a lack of like sexual attention from their significant other, especially guys, especially early on. And so they'll look to find another person to cover that need and fill that hole for them. But if that's the case, you just need to redefine your priorities and understand that, like, why do you expect that you are going to get your way and that you need to get it? And if not from your main person, why do you think you deserve to get it from another person? And do you think that's like deviating from what you truly want, which it probably is, unless you're a terrible person. So yeah. Yeah, again, always listen fully before you say anything. Let's see. But yeah, like how I was talking about, like turning your brain off, like them just being able to turn their brain off and relax. That's really important. If they found that in you, where they can just relax with you, it's a really good thing. Oh, another thing with the effort thing. So there's different ways you can show effort. A lot of it is just in like day-to-day conversation, but I think that like an unquestionable, non-negotiable standard type of thing is getting flowers like twice, 3 times a month, honestly, or more. I didn't do this for a long time, and I regret it. Well, I didn't regret it. I'm learning from, right? But and don't spend money on gifts. This is going to sound counterintuitive, but a lot of people spend so much money on gifts for their significant other, thinking that the other person is going to think it's more meaningful because it's expensive. As guys, we tend to think that that's the case. Like if she bought me like an expensive necklace, then I would be like more appreciative because it's expensive, and that is true. Like that's the case for me, and I'm assuming most guys. But for her, I did this once, buying like 3 tubs of pre-workout, creatine, protein powders, like all these things to try to. First of all, the reasons was fucked, but like basically, I got her a bunch of expensive gifts, and I was like, "Why don't you appreciate this gift more?" And in reality, it's because there was no effort. Like, sure, you gave a bunch of gifts, but there was no effort. You know, the effort is the things that are like truly thoughtful. You know, whether that's like a box of like notes, like written notes, or like one of those, those boxes that fold open with a bunch of like pictures in them, like just things like that, right? That show way more effort than just clicking buy online. What else? Oh yeah, this one's good. So treat their family as your own. I started off pretty hot on this drink, but eventually, over enough time, I started to sort of get sick of seeing her parents, or like, and that right there that's bad, because if your partner sees that you feel that way, then over enough time they're gonna think that their family's insignificant to you, and then they're gonna think it's fine to treat your family insignificantly, and then from there the disconnects just spiral out of control. Um, right. Another thing, don't treat things so seriously so soon. You know, I mean, things take time. People, I have a buddy that DM'd a girl for one night, and already it was like the most serious, deep ass conversation about like their relationship together. Like, and it was literally one night of talking. I was like, dude, holy shit. Um, if you treat her like you've been dating her for multiple years right off the bat, then it will be very, very bad. Just as a general statement, people that haven't been experienced with relationships tend to romanticize way too soon. Um, yeah. Always tell the truth. This one is the probably the biggest one out of this entire list. First of all, have a trust system. Um, it doesn't even have to be a system. Just actually trust each other because you tell the truth, and that's the thing. Tell the truth. That is the most important thing. Tell the truth. Um, if you don't tell the truth, first of all, you feel like shit inside of yourself, but then you also feel guilty because you don't understand, like, you can't, no matter what you do, you can never build back trust. Once trust is gone, it's gone. I listened to a businessman talk about this today, on one of those hard knock interviews on Instagram Reels, and he was like, no matter how much money you make, you cannot buy back trust from somebody. So always tell the truth. That piece of advice is gold. And especially if it's like, I used to do a lot of white lies when I was young. Like, it was just like a little inconvenience or a little thing. Like, for example, let's say I just got like a 88% of my test grade or whatever. My friends was like, how much did you get? Like, what'd you get? I go like, oh, I got a 91. Just like little white lies like that. Those are what crush you. I fixed it early on, which I'm lucky about, but boy, oh boy, that's bad. Because that teaches you that it's okay to lie about things. And once you start feeling okay about that, at that point, are you really even just being true to yourself and true with her? Like, that's a big deal. But about that, the only reason you'd feel like you need those white lies is because you're not comfortable in your own skin. Yeah. And so in my opinion, she should always accept you for who you are, like, and not anybody else. So, like, if you're trying to portray a different person that you are truly, and you think that that's going to help her accept you more because you're so attached to her, stop. Because when you do that and you act as a certain way, and portray a certain character, she may be attached to that new character, but in reality, the fundamental discrepancy is that you're not being yourself and she doesn't like yourself, and so you're just not meant to be with her. You know what I mean? No matter how she looks, no matter how she treats you. Damn, I wish I knew that when I was younger. Yeah, like I said though, be yourself, because if she doesn't want it and she doesn't want you as yourself, then find someone that does. Flat out. Now this one, if there's a girl watching this might be a little controversial. I wrote here, understand that most of the time, or a lot of the time, her response to wanting to hang out, so like, let's say she wanted to go see the movies, or you ask her, like, you want to go see the movies or whatever, her response to that will most of the time be based on her current feelings about you. Now this is controversial because I could easily see a girl watching this and be like, that's not true. But hear me out. Like, if she says at some point, like, you say that, you're like, you want to go to the movies with me? And she's like, oh no, not today, let's do it another time. If you were in sales, you know the smoke screen objection and normal objection. This is kind of a form of smoke screen objection without them realizing it. Like, the reason they don't want to go with you that night is probably there's a chance it's because they just don't currently feel happy with you and their current stance with you. Um, and guys will take this the wrong way, because once they see that someone says no, let's just wait, or like no, I don't want to hang out with you now, they'll see that and be like, oh my god, she doesn't like me. But that's not the case. Maybe just her current state is not in alignment to yours. You know. So don't be hurt if she says she doesn't want to. Just be patient, because over enough time it'll show how she actually feels. So yeah. Oh my god, this one I'm probably gonna talk for like 5 minutes on this. Cheating. Okay. I wrote, cheating comes in many fucking forms. So not only watch out for them with her, but more importantly, do not do something stupid. And if you even have the slightest thought that you're like, is this considered cheating? Then it is. Man, flatline. And how can this show itself? Okay, so like let's say you're just talking to a girl at a party, like you're drinking, you're talking to a girl, and not like talking, you're just talking about some random shit. Like she's like, oh, how are you doing? Like, what's your name? How are you doing? Where are you from? And it's fine to meet people, but in my opinion, especially at this age, you know that like you know people's intentions. You just do. You know what I mean? Like if a girl came with me right now, and we were drinking at a party, and she even seen the littlest bit like trying to like talk to me in a little bit more way than like a normal friend would, I'm like, no. But that's also just because I'm used to that now, you know. But I found that like it comes in so many different ways, and it mainly comes from like a discrepancy you get in your relationships. Like let's say you're not getting enough attention from her on like messages. You're going to find yourself wanting to find another person to talk to fill that gap in your relationship, and then everything will feel complete. And it's weird how that's the case, because shouldn't you feel like shit for talking to another girl and getting that communication? Yes, you should, but most of the time you don't. And that's really strange. But the most important thing out of all this is just to make sure that if you have to ask yourself, is this considered cheating? It is cheating. And I'm not just talking like kissing or sleeping with another woman or like touching or like hugging. Like even just like the little things, like that little look you gave, that little whisper you did. Like if you have any point, you have that thought in your head, you're like, is this cheating? Bingo. So yeah, a lot of people take stoicism too seriously in their relationships. A lot of guys. What I take from stoicism, like after reading meditations or whatever, the main thing I took from the book is just you can't be upset about what you can't control. I don't think in any way stoicism, especially in relationships, means not showing emotion, because I mean, you can't not show emotion, really. That's literally probably one of the most important things in a relationship is showing your emotion. I mean, obviously there's going to be situations where you shouldn't, you know. It's funny that I can't even name a situation where that's the case. But 9 times out of 10, always show emotion, especially because like sit there and imagine she didn't show you any emotion at all, like emotionless. How fucking depressing would that be, you know? Always be caring. This is another thing. I found, like, even if you aren't dating someone yet, it's so important to just be like caring, or like at least be a good person. Yeah. So I wish I did this more. Now I do it so much. But like I think you should reflect on yourself a lot more in general. So like how you were certain nights talking to her, and how you guys hung out, and like what you said and the things you did and what you did for her, like all those things. Like just be pretty introspective, because those things are so important to actually understand how you are and how you act in a relationship. Let's see. Okay, this one's pretty cool. I learned this from Jordan Peterson. But a relationship, whether it's a friendship, Romantic relationship. Oh my god, I have this like a little wooden thing in my eye. A friendship or a romantic relationship, like whatever it is, a relationship is always either growing or dying all the time. This is just how biology works. Is biology the right word for this? Let's go how science works. Like there's no stagnancy. Your relationship is never flat. It's always either growing or dying, right? And it's important to understand that you guys can't just exist. And when you think your relationship is just existing, you know it's truly dying. I told my mom this. I'm gonna be a little quiet. I told my mom this, because she was finding disconnects, and my parents were finding disconnects in the relationship, right? And my mom didn't believe that fundamental truth that things are always either growing or dying. She just believed that they're just there, right? And I had to kind of explain it to her that like things are always growing or dying, and that's scary, especially when you realize things are dying. But it also gives you the understanding to be able to make it grow again. So just make sure everything's always growing. And if it's dying, fix it. That's kind of like how my recent video was about troughs and peaks. It's similar, but not. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, always make an effort to see her. This is a big one. So like let's say you have like 15 to 20 minutes with her, and it's like 45 minutes of driving there and back or whatever. Like I said this, which it's crazy. I've learned from it now, but when you say like it's not worth it, like I'm only going to see you for 20 minutes, it's not worth it. When you say that, it paints a picture that you don't think she's worth your time. And in doing so, she doesn't think you're worth her time, and she'll also begin to think it's not worth it. And when that happens, it's sad, because then she's going to start saying like, oh, I only get to see you for an hour tonight. It's not worth it. I mean, like, that's just super important. And someone I talked to recently said that this isn't the case. This is the case that's only the case for relationships. I totally disagree with that, because like, even if it's your friends and you're going to a get together and you're all going to hang out, and it's 11 or whatever, and you're planning on leaving at 1, and like let's say it's only a 15-minute drive, like, and you sit there and you tell them, you're like, man, it's late, it's not worth it, bruh. Like, are you really gonna be that way and tell them that it's okay to think it's not worth it? Because at the end of the day, you love your friends. I mean, why wouldn't you want to see them, right? So yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're reaching the end of the list. I know this is the longest video, but don't force stuff on her. Oh my god. Especially hobbies. I made the mistake of forcing my ex on, or my old significant other, about lifting, because I was big into lifting then, right? I was like, oh my gosh, you should love to lift. You can improve yourself, improve your body, and do all these things. And I bet you, if you're a girl watching this, like you know what I just did wrong. Me saying that instantly made her think. Instantly, it's probably the only thing she could think about once I said that, is that I'm not okay with her body, and this is just how women think. And that shit is bad, because that'll just linger. So yeah. And don't force anything on, especially more intimate stuff, because that's probably one of the worst things you can possibly do. Because the whole point is for her to be comfortable with you. Like, why would you try to force something on just because you think you deserve something that you really shouldn't? Yeah. Listen. I have that written down. Your things should come secondary, even if she makes it seem like they should come first. She's just doing that. Yeah, intimately never inflict any pressure, no matter the situation. Yeah. And also my last thing of the rest of this video, in a summary, honestly, just be yourself. She should either want you for you or not be the right person for you, and that's just how it is. People change. You can change. But flatline, don't put on a mask just so that she might like you more. Because if you're not yourself, who the fuck are you? All right, that's all I got.